Get the live going. All right. Ready?
Yep.
I don't like them. Well, all right, folks. Welcome to the Burl Brew, another live version of the Wildcats Today podcast. Thanks to everybody that showed up today. Appreciate y'all being here. And big basketball game today, Carson.
Yeah, it's a huge one. There's a lot of storylines playing into this one. You got the coach versus the captain, and Kentucky needs to win a big game, especially against a ranked opponent today.
The good news is there are some reinforcements today as Jaden Quaintance is going to make his debut in a Kentucky uniform today. We're all thinking he's going to be our savior. Carson, will he be?
Anytime you get a top 10 prospect to play for your team, he's going to make an impact, especially when we've been lacking on the effort and the physicality all year long. He's going to make a big difference today. The only thing I look forward to is to see how many minutes he does play today and how healthy he really is.
That's something we talked about yesterday. I think the minutes that Quaintance plays today is going to be quite interesting. It's his first game back from a serious injury, an ACL tear. Carson, you said you're leaning toward the 15-minute. I'm kind of more at the 10. But it's how comfortable Coach Pope feels, because if he's playing well, you're going to leave him out there. I mean, you're going to leave him out there as long as he can play.
No, definitely. And like I said, he's a top 10 prospect. He's going to make a difference. And we have failed on the effort and the intensity in most of these big games. So you need a spark like that. And I know we talked on the last pod about how there's momentum plays within every game. And that could be a steal and dunk or a pin block in a crucial situation. And I think JQ can provide that spark for this team today.
Everything that we've struggled on all season long have been things that Jaden Quaintance will come in and fix. I mean, the Indiana game, I think, was the best that we've done when it comes to effort, intensity, winning the 50-50 balls, grabbing rebounds. The best we've seen of that was that Indiana game. And what happened? The Cats finally got a big win, and hopefully that will continue into this ball game against St. John's and Rick Pitino. And you got to think that Jaden Quaintance, like you said, those big plays, blocks, dunks, those are things that Jaden Quaintance is going to bring to this basketball team that is hopefully going to give us momentum and hopefully help us get out to a quick start.
Yeah, that's massive. Quick starts. We've struggled in big games at getting ahead early, and I think this game especially, you need to focus on the quick starts because they're a very good defensive team. Rick Pitino, the press never graduates, right? But I think that St. John's has been struggling too, just like us. They are 7-3. They're number 22. They've lost to Bama, Auburn, and Iowa State, two SEC teams. And honestly, those teams haven't been great either. So I look for Kentucky to amplify the physicality today and focus on that area, and that's how we're going to win the game.
This is a basketball game that we have to come out to that hot start. I mean, we were in Nashville. Do you know how frustrating it is after a few beers to go sit down in your seat and look up at the scoreboard and the score's 19-2? That sucks. And that is what happened to all of us when we were there for the Gonzaga game in Nashville. So the hope is that Kentucky can get out to that kind of run today, get out to a 11-4 kind of lead early and then run from that. I mean, you saw that happen a little bit against North Carolina, but the Tar Heels got back into it and obviously went on to win that one. But that quick start, I mean, we'll sit here and we'll repeat that over and over. It is such an important part of winning this game because it's really hard to win when you're losing by a ton early in the ballgame.
Yeah, and it's really hard to win when you're playing against a great defensive team that presses on 21% of possessions. That's going to amplify and try to play fast and force you into turnovers. And honestly, that's how St. John's will score as well. St. John's is not very good in the half-court game, but in transition and forcing turnovers is where they'll attack and beat you.
So when you're highlighting a player today for Kentucky, Carson, that you think has to play well for the Cats to get a victory tonight, who would be the number one name on that list?
Yeah, this one's actually going back to the last game too because I thought he had a great game. Mo Diabate, because I think he has the biggest task and that's to guard our old friend, Mr. Bryce Hopkins. I think he's the star player for St. John's, and I think Mo Diabate is going to have a tough task today.
When Mo Diabate plays Mo Diabate basketball, Kentucky can be really good. And what that means, we talked about it. Hey, Mo, don't shoot the three. And if you're wide open, I'll let you take one. I can get behind it. But we don't need Mo Diabate shooting 5 threes. He was incredible in that Indiana game. Double-double. He was the best player on the floor for us, I thought. And, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to say that. You need him to step up and play that high-intensity defense and get those rebounds. He was great on the boards against Indiana. Mo D's a big key for us in this one. And if he plays well, I think we're going to win. And what him playing well means is he's fighting to get boards. He's scoring around the rim. He's cleaning things up around the rim. That is what Mo Diabate is going to have to do for Kentucky to take down St. John's and their old coach.
And,
today.
you know, Andrew, all that's contagious. So if our team sees Mo Diabate laying out for loose balls, going after offensive rebounds, everyone's going to buy into that. And we actually saw that last weekend with Brandon Garrison. He came out of the shell last weekend for the first time this season, playing with effort and intensity, and it runs down the list. When a leader goes out there and plays with their full heart and passion, it trickles down, and that's what we love to see, and that's what we need to see today to get the victory.
Another name that I want to highlight is obviously someone that I don't think has received enough appreciation for what he's done for this basketball team, and that's our guy, Cam Williams. I mean, we talked about this on the ride over here. Cam Williams, his defense doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. You know what I mean? Like we talked about that.
Yeah.
Some people might look at the stat sheet after a game and go, "Man, Cam Williams, what's he doing playing 25 minutes?" He's one of the best defenders, I think, in all of college basketball, but it's not always showing up in the stat sheet. So what he is doing is so underappreciated for this basketball team, and I think that you need to see him have another good a game on defense against a high-intensity team like St. John's.
Yeah, I would like to see Cam play a lot today. And people get frustrated because Cam hasn't been making his shots like we would like him to do. But I think he's so impactful on the defensive end, tipping passes, blocking shots, getting loose balls, all those intangibles that you can't really teach. It's just hustle and heart. He is the best at that. And we need that physicality against a very physical St. John's team who's going to try to pound you inside.
Pause. Three-point shooting is something I want to highlight for this St. John's team, you know, and obviously we're going to sit here and continue talking about all the players for Kentucky that need to play well, but looking over at St. John's, shooting and turnovers are two things that are interesting to me. Carson, the turnovers, St. John's is turning the ball over 13.1 times per ball game. That's 254th in the nation. Kentucky hasn't been great this season at creating turnovers, but if the Cats can find a way to turn over Rick Pitino's team a lot today, it's going to lead to transition buckets for us, and I think it could be a difference in the ballgame.
Yeah, and I think the key to that is running their good three-point shooters off of that line and forcing them to make decisions. Like, let's talk about Ian Jackson. We know him. We've recruited him. He's a great three-point shooter, and he can drive sometimes, but he tends to get a little out of control. He only has 13 assists and 19 turnovers this season. That's a horrible efficiency with that. So I think you need to force him to make decisions and don't leave them open. Go over screens and make them beat you inside.
A lot of their threes are from drive and kicks out to shooters.
Yes.
And the guys that need to be highlighted when it comes to their shooting, it's Ian Jackson. He shot them a lot. Sellers has shot a lot, and then Joseph Sannon has shot a lot of threes. Those guys can shoot the ball. Those are the ones of the players on this basketball team for St. John's that we're most concerned about making them from deep. And you'll see today, a lot of their three-point shots are created from Zuby Ejiofor. He's a great player, Carson. What do you think about him, and how are we going to try and find a way to shut him down this morning?
Ejiofor is a monster. He's their center. They use him a ton in the pick and roll game. That's kind of their offense. They'll pick and pop with him and Bryce Hopkins a little bit, but Ejiofor likes to take it to the rim, and you can't be pushed under the basket with Ejiofor or you're screwed. So you have to play with your chest straight, physical, and make sure that he is farther away from the basket when he receives that pass. And that'll be good for us. And then with Bryce Hopkins, they kind of use him in the same role, but he's more of the popper. He can also drive, and he loves to spin. His spin move, you got to force him left. If he gets right, that's a bucket.
You know, in Ejiofor, for a center, he's not the tallest center. He's just a big old guy. I mean, he wins off physicality. You've got to find a way to match that physicality because, I mean, we've seen all year, if you get out physicaled, we lose. And if we lose the physicality battle today, this could be a lopsided basketball game, Carson.
Yeah, because if you lose the physicality, then you're losing the turnover battle, you're losing the rebounding battle, because all those things go into that same category, and it's the effort and the intensity. And we need to get out to a hot start, like you were saying today, so we can limit those errors. And if you get out to a hot start, you're going to have that momentum and want to play with that effort intensity the whole game instead of getting punched in the mouth and feeling down.
You know, a name that has to be brought up, there's a signed jersey right there by the player, and that's Otega Owe. I mean, it is a constant conversation for us. When we lose our star player, Otega Owe, and I mean, Carson, Otega's our guy. Are we sticking to it?
Yeah.
Okay. It is not a good recipe when your star player is getting dominated by the other team's star player. And in every loss, that has been the case. For this Kentucky basketball team to go to Catlanta and get a win, Otega's got to play well. And he's starting to play more like Otega Owe.
Yeah, and I think that starts on the defensive end with Otega because he has 16 steals on the year, and he's been locked in the past couple of games defensively. And I think today's a perfect day to stay on that path because St. John's loves to turn the ball over. So if we're jumping passing lanes and being active on defense and locked in, we could score tons of points just off of that alone.
What I would love to see today is an early game. I'm talking first 5 minutes of the game. Otega get a big steal, take it down the floor, and have a big slam because those momentum things we're talking about, JQ getting that momentum going with blocks and run outs and dunks and all that. And that's great. We hope that JQ does that. But talking about getting out to that fast start that we want to get out to today, you could see Otega Owe use what he's done the last few games, which is play like Otega Owe. If he does that, it can create some early momentum for the Cats.
100%. And another player I want to bring up who I thought had a fantastic game against Indiana and kind of closed out the game for us was Mr. Jalen Lowe.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be on the court 20-plus minutes every single game because him and Mo Diabate and that pick and roll, that worked like a charm at the end of that Indiana game, and they really didn't have an answer for that. So I'd love to see more of that. And when Lowe's in there, he's the only guy on our team that can break down his defender and get 2 feet in the paint every single time and have the defense collapse on him and be able to dish out to open shooters.
It's really hard to get into a flow as a player when you're in and out of the lineup. And Jalen Lowe is finally starting to settle in. And once he settles in, we know the type of player he can be. Obviously, coming over from Pitt, we all discussed the efficiency issues. But if Jalen Lowe can start to be another scorer for this team, and with your point guard, yeah, you want him to distribute. You want him to pick up the assist. But at the end of the day, with how this offense has struggled, we just need guys that are willing to just go score the damn ball. And hopefully Jalen Lowe can continue to become one of those guys for this basketball team.
100%. And we've struggled from the three-point line all year long. And I think today could be a get-right game. We need Colin Chandler, Jalen Lowe. We need Cam Williams to go out there and knock down some threes because St. John's is going to pressure you defensively. So there will be opportunities to use that pressure against them and have the defense collapse to where there's open shooters everywhere. So we have to knock down those shots when we use that pressure against them.
We talked a little bit about him, but Carson, can you give us a scouting report? We all know him. He played here, but tell us a little bit more about Bryce Hopkins. He's a guy, I think it's either Ejiofor or Hopkins is the best player for the Red Storm. What do you think Kentucky's got to do to slow Hopkins in this basketball game?
Yeah, Hopkins he's definitely a capable shooter from three, but he loves to attack the rim like we all know. I mean, we watched him here, and he loves that spin move. That's his move, and he can either spin to the basket or spin and do a mid-range fade. Both of those are his two specialties. So you're going to have to stay up on him And you can honestly sag off a tad bit from the three-point line, but in the mid-range and close to the basket, you cannot leave him at all.
When it comes to the three-point shooting for Kentucky, it hasn't, it hasn't been great. There's no way to sugarcoat that. But Carson, who is a guy today that could be a spark from deep for the Wildcats?
Yeah, I think if I'm tapping anybody, it's Colin Chandler. I think Colin's had a few rough games in a row shooting-wise, and I think he gets back to making some threes today. For me, it's all about the physicality for Colin, though. In these big games, it feels like the physicality gets to him a lot, so he loses his legs a little bit on the defensive end. But I think tonight he ends up knocking down some threes in a big way.
This team has kind of adapted to finding a way to win basketball games. Well, win basketball game, I guess, in the Indiana game. But they found a way to win that game, and they're starting to become a team that isn't living and dying by the three, which is what we all thought Kentucky would be when Mark Pope was hired as the head basketball coach. So I think that while we've kind of gotten used to it, having to score down low and get ugly baskets, this team gets better the better we shoot the ball from deep. So, Colin Chandler's a great guy to name. He hasn't been incredible shooting the ball the last couple games. He was pretty good from deep early in the year. You really want to see him get going in this ball game tonight. If he makes 4 or 5 threes, it would be massive for Kentucky's chances of winning. I wanted to bring up a name, Carson, and a name that wasn't brought up in the Indiana game because he didn't step foot on the floor, and that is Andrea Jelovic. Obviously, Mo D coming back in that Indiana game played a role in that, but what do you think we see Jelovic tonight? Why do you think he didn't play against Indiana? Kind of break down that situation for us.
To me, I don't know how much you'll see of Jelovic tonight or today. He didn't get any clock in the Indiana game, and I know some people have said he was sick, blah, 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 but he didn't play at all. And I think that's solely because of Mo D's physicality and how he controlled that game. And I think we need Mo D more than we need Jelovic in this game tonight. I think that physicality against St. John's is going to be huge. Not to mention we're adding JQ back, which also takes minutes away from Jelovic. So I don't expect to see a ton of Jelovic today.
Physicality is going to be the word when it comes to this game. We probably already said it 50 times. We might say it 100. If the Cats aren't physical, they won't win. And talking about the Jelovic versus the Diabate kind of conversation and battle, the more physical player is Diabate. I think Jelovic has done a great job on the boards early in the year. He's been better rebounding than I think we all kind of expected coming into the season. Mm-hmm. But you still need physicality, and where you're going to get that is going to be from Mo Diabate. So I personally think that Jelovic is going to get some clock today, I think. But the way Cam and Mo D have been playing at the 4, it's just going to be hard for him to find minutes, especially if Cam starts to shoot the ball from deep. That's going to really affect Jelovic's minutes. So what do you think Cam Williams has to do to get going from 3, Carson? Is it mental?
I do think it's mental right now. We saw how good of a shooter he was last year. He was like 99th percentile in 25-plus foot jump shots. He shot 42% from 3. I think it's all between the ears right now, but he's controlling the controllables right now, which I love. He's playing great defense. He's being physical. He's attacking the basket. He's been everywhere. It's just those shots aren't falling, but I think they will fall the more he puts them up.
Pope had a great quote this week, and it was talking about the NOAA system, which is it tracks the shots that all the players take. And he said, over my career, that doesn't lie. And early in the year, it's hard to sit here and say that hasn't lied. The guys that were atop that NOAA statistic haven't been great from 3. Jelovic and Cam Williams are 2 names that come to mind. And I'm still a firm believer that the issues that Cam Williams has had from deep is between the ears. We've seen him do it. And it's not like he's just shooting against air on that NOAA system. He was great from deep at Tulane last year. Mm-hmm. So people keep saying, well, maybe he just doesn't have it from deep. Maybe that's the case, and we'll find out. But if he does get better from 3, it just takes this team to another level.
Yes, I completely agree. If he knocks down shots, this team gets a whole lot better, a whole lot faster. But I wanted to kind of go back on St. John's a little bit and talk about Oziah Sellers. He's their shooter. He's 46 of his 85 shots have came from the three-point line, where he is shooting 43.5%. So do not leave that guy at all. He's shooting around 33% from two. So force him in the lane and don't let him shoot at all. And that's fine because you can kind of sag off Ejiofor and Hopkins a little bit from three, but you can't leave Jackson, Sellers, or Sannon at three. And you can't let those guards beat you. But that starts with playing good physical defense inside, because if they're able to penetrate you inside, then they'll be able to disperse outside, and that'll kill you.
We talked about a play. What game was it that we showed that clip where Colin lagged off the shooter?
Michigan State.
So we show a clip a lot on our show kind of as a joke, and it's a play where against Michigan State, Colin Chandler left his guy to go down low and help Garrison. Maybe it was Moreno, but one of the bigs. And that big sees his shooter wide open, and he just goes, oh, okay, and kicks it to his shooter, and he drains a three.
Yeah.
Those three players that you just named, Jackson, Sellers, and Sannon, you have to stay on those guys. You have to trust in our bigs to be able to guard Ejiofor, because like we said, they make a lot of their threes on kicks out to the corner, kicks out to open shooters. So if you try to go help against Ejiofor, you're going to see a lot of threes made for St. John's. And if that happens, it's going to be real hard for Kentucky to win this basketball game.
100%. You got to force them off the line, and you got to make sure on pick and rolls that the bigs are catching the ball farther away from the basket. Those two things are key today.
And, and Ejiofor, talking about, catching the ball away from the basket, that's obviously going to help us, but he's a pretty good ball handler. I mean, for a big guy, like we said, he's like 6'9", 6'10", big, strong guy, but
him and Hopkins can put the ball on the ground.
They can put it on the ground, and that's what I'm saying. So our bigs need to be ready to guard all around the paint, because if those guys, Hopkins, Ejiofor, put the ball on the ground, they're able to make some moves, and they're shifty, and they can get to the rim. So you've got to be ready to defend all around the block, all around the paint, or those guys are going to have a field day down low, which we do not want to happen in this one.
But that's going back on that. That's when you want to attack them and force them to catch the ball farther away from the basket, because the more time that it takes them to get to the basket, the better chance we're stealing the ball or forcing a turnover, because, like we said, they love to turn the ball over.
Offensive rebounds is going to be important. St. John's is pretty darn good on the glass. Carson, who's going to be the guy that you think can limit them on the glass, and why is it so important that we keep them off of it?
Well, yeah, they're 33rd nationally in offensive rebounding percentage. So I think it takes the whole front court room to kind of – and it goes back to effort and physicality. Rebound is all effort and physicality. We got to box out. When a shot goes up, you find Ejiofor and you find Hopkins. Those two guys will kill you on offensive rebounds. So you find them as soon as the ball goes up, and you don't leak out as much. The guards shouldn't be leaking out as much. The guards should be helping to rebound. And honestly, St. John's loves to push the pace, but I think if we slow it down a little bit today, that actually work in our favor.
Yeah. And you talked about the stat. How long does it take them to shoot when they're in their half-court offense?
Yeah, it's 14.8 seconds per possession. They're one of the fastest nationally.
Which is so interesting, because if you hadn't watched the St. John's game this year and you just looked at the way they play, you would probably sit and think to yourself, I bet they play real slow in the half court, and they're shooting the ball with, less than 10 seconds left on the shot clock. They want to shoot. And I think the big reason why is because they just aren't the most elite half-court offense. And so you need to know that when they get to their end to try and score the ball, you've got to be ready defensively, because they will try and get shots up and they will try and score early into the shot clock.
Yeah, 100%. So going back over it, my keys to victory: win the rebound margin, got to box out, play with physicality, win the turnover battle. Don't get ahead of yourself. They're going to press. They're going to throw pressure at you, especially on dead balls. They love to press after free throws, timeouts. They love to pressure you when you least expect it. So win the turnover battle, and then don't let Sannon, Sellers, and Jackson beat you.
I just want to see us have a good day from deep today, Carson. And I know I said it, but it would be so awesome if we made 10-plus threes today. There was a stat last year, and when we made 10-plus threes, we very rarely lost. And, I mean, we all were kind of doom and gloom after the start to the season, and I think the Indiana win has kind of gotten us back to believing a little bit. But at the end of the day, if we aren't a team known as a three-point shooting team, I don't think we're going to find a way to be too successful. I think we'll win some games, but we're not going to be this elite team that we want to be. And is there a better day to start making threes than in Catlanta?
No, this is a perfect day. Catlanta against Patino. He's going to pressure you, and you got to use that pressure against them. When you catch the ball in the press and you have room, drive to the lane and wait there, and then someone's going to collapse. Your shooters are going to be open. Hopefully Colin Chandler, Cam Williams, Lowe knocks them down. We need to make shots today to win this game.
We talked a lot about Ejiofor, obviously, and for good reason. He's a great player, but we haven't talked a ton about the guy that's going to be guarding him most of the game, and that's Malachi Moreno. How do you think he's going to stack up against Ejiofor defensively in this ballgame?
Well, Malachi really needs to up his physicality today. Ejiofor, he's one of the most physical bigs in all of college basketball. So Malachi has to play with the chip on his shoulder today and go out there trying to prove something to the college basketball world.
Yeah, I mean, as we've talked about the physicality, Moreno is the guy that needs to be discussed the most because he's got to be physical. He's a big guy. He's a 7-footer, and he's got some meat on his bones. It's not like he's a little twig out there, but he's got to act like it. He's got to go and he's got to play hard against Ejiofor because if he doesn't, Ejiofor could have a field day against him down low.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ejiofor and Hopkins, those are the two keys. The front court has the biggest task today, and if their front court gets going, that only opens up their guard play. So really locking in on that defensive front is going to be the key to the game.
Yeah. You know, Trent Noah in this game, what do you think we're going to see from him? I mean, could we see a Trent Noah Catlanta game? I mean, you know, there were all the offseason expectations about Trent Noah, and I think it's fair to say that he hasn't fully lived up to them. He's had his moments, but once again, as we keep talking about the shooting, another guy who you'd love to see him make 4 threes tonight. Today. It'd be awesome. What do you think Trent could do for us in this ballgame?
Yeah, I think he plays sparingly today. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I think he just doesn't bring the athleticism that we're going to see in this game or the physicality. Now, that's not to say he won't come in for 12 minutes and hit 3 threes. That's what we need him to do. That's the guy we need him to be. But I don't think he's going to play an extended role today just based on how physical this game's going to be.
Okay, I want to ask you this question. We've discussed the whole shortening the bench thing. It's been a big conversation. What players do you think are going to be out there the most? I mean, you talked about Trent. Like, what are the guys that you're going to see get 20-plus minutes tonight if you had to list them?
Oh, if I could pick, it'd be Lowe, Aberdeen, Ortega. I wouldn't say over 20 for Cam, but I think Cam should be like the 6th man. Yeah. I want Mo Diabate in there. JQ won't go over 20 because of coming off an injury, but normally he'll go over 20. And then Malachi. I said 7. Those are my 7.
Yeah, I mean, shortening the bench, like all offseason.
Well, you can throw Colin Chandler in there, too.
I mean, Colin's probably going to play close to 20, I'd say. But, you know, all offseason we had the conversation about the whole, you know, Noah's Ark, Pope's got 2 of everything. And it sounds great on paper in the offseason, but now we're kind of getting to the point where it's like when we're trying to win a big basketball game, you just kind of want to play the guy. You want to feed the studs. You want to play the guys that are playing well. So I'd like to see the bench shorten. Like, don't throw a guy out there if they're not playing well. And another thing I want to talk about before I forget.
Yeah.
What happened against North Carolina in the first 5 minutes, Carson? We got off on a run, and then what happened?
And then we subbed our whole lineup out.
Okay. Can we not sub the whole team out if we go on like 13-4, you know, it's 13-4 at the under 16. Can we not take the whole team out of the game? Is that allowed?
Yeah, I hate the platoon swap, especially for this team. I mean, it worked in 2014, 2015 because we were that good, but it doesn't work with this team. We only have about 8 guys that should be getting minutes right now that are at least deserving of minutes with the effort and intensity that they bring.
I am in agreement there. You got to shorten that thing up. And I think we're going to do that today. Like, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Trent minutes. But, I mean, when you're having that conversation about shortening the bench, it would be great if in 8 minutes Trent made a couple threes. I mean, these players that aren't going to be getting all of those minutes that they maybe were early in the year, prove your worth. Go out there and make some threes. Go do something to show Coach Pope and show BBN, hey, I need to be on the floor more than you had me in that game against St. John's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. You ready to wrap this thing up?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this. One of the big conversations about this game has been the suit talk with Pope and Pitino.
Yeah.
Obviously, Coach Pitino is known for having some great suits, and he's done the all white. And Pope has crap talked him all offseason. Do you think Pope is going to show up in an awesome suit, or do you think he's overplaying it?
I think Pope's a swaggy guy. I mean, he's had some Louis V shoes. I think Pope will get right, but it's hard to beat the Don. Rick Pitino is Mr. Suit Game, so I'm not looking for him to overachieve and beat Rick in that area, but I think he'll come close.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to some predictions and then call it a day. So, I mean, in this ball game, when it comes to, is it going to be high scoring? Is it going to be low scoring? What's it going to look like? I think this game's going to finish somewhere in the mid-70s to mid-80s. I think it's going to be around there. I'm leaning closer to the mid-70s in this one. And, I mean, what has Kentucky done the last couple of times in Atlanta? They beat North Carolina.
Yep, we had a great time there.
We did have a great time. Shout out, Mike. Wish you were here.
Yep.
And then the other question I've got for you, what happened last year in Atlanta? Duke, right?
Oh, yeah, it was Duke in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. We beat Duke at the end of the game, and Ortega kind of took over at the end of the game. So maybe a little foreshadowing for today, hopefully.
And that's what I'm saying. We've done well in Atlanta. They call it Catlanta for a reason. So I'm going to pick Kentucky in this one. It's going to be close. It's going to be a real tight ball game. I'm going to go Kentucky 76. St. John's 74. I think it's going to be like a 2-point. It's going to come down to the very end. Connor Hall disagrees. It's going to be a tight game late, but I'm going to take the Cats. And before you have a chance to do it, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to take Ortega in this ball game. I think that he is going to have a big one. He does well in Atlanta, and I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, and, the coach versus the captain, Rick Pitino versus Mark Pope and Catlanta. Shout out to all the BBN at Atlanta watching. I've got the Cats coming out on top today. I honestly, some part of me thinks Rick Pitino is a little bit cheering for Mark Pope to beat him today. So I've got the Cats 71-67. And my player of the game is going to be Jalen Lowe. I think Lowe comes out firing today.
Well, thank you all so much, everybody that was here. Everybody, go get a bunch of beers. And also,
nope.
Okay, you can ask one question.
Yeah, Okay, Walker. We'll give Walker a question.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, you guys might have already answered this, but I was wondering, how much time do y'all think Jaden will see on the court today?
Yeah, I've said around 15 minutes. I think that's the right time for him. What do you think?
The Halls have a knack for asking questions that have already been answered, but I will. I'll go. I've said 8. I think he's going to play 8 to 10 minutes in this game. Carson said 15. I don't think it's more than 15. Jackson's got a question.
All right, so which player on Kentucky needs to have a quietly great game tonight for you to win? Not the highest score, just a quietly great game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me that's Kim Williams. I think he has to come off the bench and bring what he brings on the defensive end and force a lot of turnovers on St. John's. And I'm hoping he knocks down some threes today. So Kim Williams is my pick.
I like the Cam pick. I'll go on that, and he might have a wild stat sheet, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to say Mo D. I mean, everything that we need to do to succeed in this ball game, Mo D does. So I'm going to go with Mo D to be that quiet player that helps Kentucky get a win. Also, tomorrow, volleyball, national championship game. The Burl's having stuff going on, so be here for that. They'd love to have you here drinking and watching the Cats hang a banner. Hope everyone enjoys the ball game. Like I said, go drink a lot of beer, drink one for us. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We'll see y'all later. Enjoy the game.